Hi everyone, this is Katie at Homo Libriensis. I just want to do, a quick currently reading video, a few books that I just finished and a few books that I have on the go. I did decide to wear my Toronto sweatshirt today. Um, they're on the news right now for having a pretty sad event where someone took a van and ran into pedestrians, killing at least 10 people. And I went to school in Toronto. I did my master's there, and I love that city. And a lot of my friends are still there. Thankfully, everyone's okay. But anyway, they're definitely in my thoughts today. On a different note, yeah, these are the books I have that I've been working my way through. A few that I've just finished, and they're pretty quick for wrapping up. So this is what I have on the go now. The first one is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So this is actually my first Garcia Marquez. So this is a fairly well-known book. I think a lot of people on BookTube have probably read it. I hadn't read it yet, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm about halfway through, just over halfway. I've been trying to read one chapter a day or so. I find that I have to keep reading a chapter a day in order to keep up with it. So this book follows a family in Colombia in a town, a mythical or made up town of Macondo, and it's the Buendia family, and it starts with Jose Arcadio Buendia, and it starts with him, and it kind of him and his wife Ursula, kind of this line of characters throughout this family who are being given the same names sort of over and over again, or variations on the same name over and over again, and sort of how those characters, how their fates play out. And how they're the same or different from others, and their personalities, and then the women in their lives, which there are strong women. There are a few very strong women, especially Ursula, wife, or matriarch of the family. She's very strong, but she also, it's a lot of women not getting a lot of recognition, and a lot of women doing a lot of hard work while some of the men in the family are left to whatever they feel like doing, to do sort of crafting or hobbies. But it's kind of the women, the matriarchs, who hold the family together and do a lot of the work. I'm really enjoying it. It is challenging to follow all the characters because there are so many of them and they all have very similar names. And I think some of the references are probably going over my head. I don't know a lot about Colombia, a lot about Colombian history. So the writing is beautiful. I like the characters. I was surprised at how quickly paced it is. I was expecting it to be a lot slower to develop. So I am all impressed with all of that. I do think I'm kind of missing some things. So I think it'll be a good one to go back and read again at some point. But 100 Years of Solitude, so far really liking my first Marquez. My next book is for my In Real Life book club, and it's Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. So my first Hurston. So this book follows Janie Crawford. She's a Black woman living in, I think, Florida in the 1930s. It was written in the 1930s. For our real life book clubs, my partner and I are in the same book club with a few friends. We read the book out loud together. And so this one's been challenging for us because it's set in the South, the American South, in the 1930s. And the characters, now primarily all the characters are Black. There are a few white characters with fairly minor parts. So it's hard to say how their voices would be written if there were more white characters, but the characters are Black, and they're written, I'm not even sure the word for it, I guess in dialect. And so the story itself, the narrator writes in third person, and they write sort of standard English, I guess. But the characters, their voices are written in dialect, and so it's actually written out so that it would be pronounced in the dialect that they speak. And this is really has been a bit of a question, and I'd love to hear what you guys would have to think and it's really made me wonder if this makes me uncomfortable and what about it makes me uncomfortable. So my partner and I are both white, and it feels kind of racialized or like it's something that doesn't belong to us. And now it was written by a Black author. I think maybe I would feel a bit less comfortable with it. If it was written by a white author, I always feel a little bit uncomfortable when there are Black characters written in dialect by white authors, and whether that's right or not, that's always kind of how I feel. It seems to have a lot of themes about the differences between being free as a Black man and being free as a Black woman, and the differences there, and whether, what truly freedom really means and how to access freedom, and what are sort of symbols of freedom at this time. If you have thoughts on books that are written more in dialect and dialect that are typically more racialized or for a specific period of time and a specific people, tell me what you think of this. Is it just a tool that authors use and I'm thinking too much, or does it make you feel uncomfortable? Would you read something like that out loud? So we're kind of struggling with that right now, but enjoying the book so far. And then the two books that I just finished are both graphic novels, and I really enjoyed both of them. I got them from the library, so they'll have to go back soon. But the first one that I read was The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang, and the art is absolutely stunning. That was definitely my favorite part. I'll try to find some pictures. The colors are just so rich, and the characters are so much fun. It's just so beautiful. I would love to hang some of the author's art on the wall. It's just absolutely beautiful. This follows a Prince Sebastian. Sebastian is young crown prince of Belgium, and he's trying to keep the secret that he likes to wear dresses, or traditionally women's clothes. He feels ashamed to tell his family, the king and queen, that he likes to wear women's clothes, and he's afraid that he won't be accepted, and so he hires this seamstress, or in secret, a tailor in secret named Frances, and she makes these beautiful gowns for him where he goes out in the world as this Lady Crystalia, and what impact this secret has on his life and the impact it has on Frances's life. Overall, beautiful drawings. It's a lovely book that tries really hard to sort of normalize gender nonconformity and clothing, choosing clothing that doesn't fit gender norms. It also doesn't automatically associate a man wearing sort of traditionally women's clothes or feminine clothes with sexuality. So there are a couple of hints that he might be gay, but it's not really discussed, and actually there are a few hints that he may not be gay. So it sort of separates those two things, which I think is good. I don't think that, it has to be one way or another. The idea is specifically the way that he expresses himself. He doesn't even really discuss his gender, but it's just this sort of, just basically talks about it as something that just he always has wanted to do and he's always liked doing, and he feels comfortable that way. But it doesn't even really open up a huge discussion of gender. It's just sort of this personal preference, something that he enjoys doing. And so I think it's a nice discussion, and I like that the two things are not necessarily equated. And then the last one that I just finished is the graphic novel My Brother's Husband by Gengaro Tagame. This one is actually just a volume 1. I thought it was the full graphic novel, but I think it's an ongoing series. At times feels a bit instructional, so it does feel like it's written very much so for an audience that doesn't necessarily accept different sexual orientations or gay people. I believe same-sex marriage is not legal in Japan as of right now, and I don't really know the culture that much around it. It discusses the culture a little, tries to take the reader, the main character, through his discomfort and sort of explore in a pretty instructional, directive kind of way, explore how he feels about it and why he feels that way about gay people. Maybe a little bit basic in terms of some parts are definitely geared toward people who maybe feel uncomfortable with gay people or with same-sex marriage, and sort of taking them through thinking about why they feel uncomfortable with it. I'm really looking forward to Volume 2 coming out, and I'd really like to read that. I'll definitely be putting myself on the wait list at the library. I think it's coming out in maybe September of this year, so it'll be a little bit of a wait, but I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, I'd love to talk to you guys about what you've been reading, if you've read any of these, what you think, and that question about what does it mean when authors use sort of dialectical speech in their writing, especially for more racialized characters. So thanks for checking in, guys. I can't wait to hear from you, and have a great week. Bye!